I'm Vanessa Ruck, the girl on a bike. Welcome back to my garage. In this video, I'm going to be talking through 15 things that, my goodness, I wish I knew when I first started riding. So I'm Vanessa Ruck. I'm a professional motorcycle rider, racer and adventurer. You can see the exact bike, Big Buddy, right next to me here that I did the Africa Eco Race on earlier this year and became the first British female to ever successfully finish that original Dakar route in the Africa Eco Race. And I've done all kinds of riding over the last few years. But a lot of people, when they see the sort of riding, races and adventuring that I'm doing on motorbikes, presume that I've been riding my whole life, and I haven't actually been riding that long. If you look through some of my older videos on my channel, you'll realise that I really actually only started riding in about 2015, and it was only about 8 years ago that I swung my leg over an off-road motorcycle for the first time. So during this period of time, there have been a very big learning curve, let's just say that. There's so many things to think about on motorcycles and so many things that you don't know. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to share some of the little gems that I have discovered that just transform the motorcycle adventure experience. Now, the list of 15 things that I'm going to go through today, I'm going to try and go through really quickly because we all know I like to ramble a little bit, but they are quite varied and they are relevant for a different range of motorcycles. So it's not all desert focus or tarmac focus or adventure touring focus. It's kind of motorcycles in general. So if you enjoy this video, let me know in the comments and let me know if you think there are any items that should be added to this list, because it's always nice for us to be able to look at the comments and learn from each other and that community that we are sort of creating online. And please do tick the bell and hit subscribe so that you get notifications for my future videos. So let's jump straight into it. Number one is your feet. And that is waterproof socks. I have learned the hard way on many rides that wet, soggy feet are absolutely horrific. Now, you can get waterproof boots and therefore the water can't go into your boots. But the challenge with a waterproof boot is there's always a top. And the top of your boot can take water, and once it goes into your boot, it then won't drain out. So I had a trip with Ride of Locals in Iceland with my husband a couple of years ago. He had his fancy new waterproof boots and I had my non-waterproof boots, and I was actually better off because the water went into my boots but came out because they weren't just a bucket that held the water. But what I did have on is waterproof socks, and the waterproof socks are a really great idea anytime you're going to hit rain or puddles of any kind, because they enable your skin and your foot to stay dry within whatever boot that you're wearing. They're effectively some form of neoprene material. Top tips on buying these: some of the brands do their own kind of branded version. So I actually do have a Husqvarna pair, for example, but I always look on places like eBay for ex-military surplus kit. So these are actually military issue waterproof socks, considerably cheaper and really, really effective. So waterproof socks is number one. Next up, we have Pinlock. Now, we've probably all been in a situation where we're riding along, we've got our full face visor on, and it starts to steam up, and it's the most frustrating thing because you can't see, you can't easily get a glove inside to start wiping it. You kind of try to ride along with it cracked to de-steam it. You can't really see because then you've got the wind coming in. Pinlock is an incredible thing that a lot of the decent quality helmets come with. And it's inside your visor. Now, if you look up close, you can see there's an inner line going around on this visor. That is a secondary piece of plastic material, or whatever this material is, that's inside the visor and almost creates a double glazing effect within your visor. And if we think about condensation, it comes because of the result of different temperatures on internal to external, so the two sides of the plastic. And that Pinlock is fantastic at preventing or dramatically reducing the risk of steaming up. Now, something that a lot of people don't realize with Pinlock is that you don't install it on your helmet and forget about it. You have to maintain it. Moisture can build up within the Pinlock between the two materials, so it's important every so often to take it off, give it a dry out and put it back on again so that you keep your Pinlock fresh. But that one is a game changer for not having to hold your breath at traffic lights, and I'm pretty sure we all know what that means. While we're talking about helmets, we've then also got some of the stats around full face helmets. Now, it's very tempting as a rider to want to have the most freedom possible, the most visibility, and a lot of people ride with open face helmets. But if you look at some of the crash statistics, it is terrifying. Over 35% of impacts in a motorcycle accident involved your chin, which means if you're in an open face helmet, your face is a 35% likelihood. That's more than 1 in 3 motorcycle crashes to be hitting the tarmac or the road or something. And I don't know about you, but I kind of like my face a little bit. Not always. Sometimes I look in the mirror and hate it. So I would always recommend open face is not the best option for protection and safety. Always go for a full face. Some of the companies, I have one as well, actually by HJC, which, oh, this is it. It's as if I planned it. If I can do this not on the bike. Why is it so weird to open a helmet not on your head? You can get helmets that do both, which means that if you want to stop and talk, pop your bacon sandwich in your mouth, you can flip it up and it still gives you this full protection and the safety of the full face helmet. Okay, there we go, safety. The next one is your vision. So again, we're still talking about your eyes. And that is tinted visors. I had such an embarrassing moment. I was in the Alps and we went into this tunnel. Don't know if you've ever been in a bright sunny mountain scene. You're in your lovely dark visor like this so that you can see, sunglasses. Went into this pitch black tunnel. And I remember at dinner that night commenting to the group that I was with, like how horrific the tunnels were because you couldn't see anything and it was like pitch black. Why don't they put lights in there? And all the people at the table were like, V, did you open your visor? Yeah, that was a blonde moment. I didn't quite realise that, yeah. You can get light-sensitive materials for visors. Example I have here is my goggles that I ride in my enduro adventure desert racing. These are actually my desert racing goggles. They're my favourites. Still unwashed because they're just sentimentally dusty. But in here is a particular lens which will adapt to the environment, which means if you're in bright sunshine, they will go dark and turn into sunglasses. And if you come into a darker environment, they go clear so you can see. And it is possible to get the same sort of technology into visors on your helmets, but it means that you can see and ride in a lot of different conditions. Linking to the goggles. So another really clever way to do this is, I'll bring this helmet back up. I'm not very agile right now. Is this helmet. Oh, why is everything so hard when it's not on your head? There is a little lever on this helmet somewhere that deploys the sunglasses. Here. Inside here, there is a sunglass flap, which means that you can have a clear visor, but then deploy the sunglasses. So there's lots of options for it, but it's definitely a way to increase your safety. Now, with all of these kind of kits and helmets, generally the more expensive the helmet that you're going to get, the more technology and extras you're going to get on it. So, for example, those sunglasses. And it's also worth bearing in mind that you're not just paying for the extra fancy bits of sunglasses. More expensive helmets tend to be crash-chested to much higher levels, different impacts, etc. And if you hit your head, you're going to want this to be saving you. Okay, so while we've got the goggles out, a massive thing that I discovered is that when you're in really muddy, dusty conditions, your goggles are on your face, it's taking all of the brunt of the technology, the terrain, and it's very easy to just sort of wipe them with your finger, which is going to absolutely annihilate your lenses and they're going to get super scratched. So I've discovered a company called Infinite Optics. They're a UK-based one. There will be equivalents of this all around the world, I'm sure. But if you look at this closely, you can see that there is a little film on the lens. That is an Infinite Optic film protector that is scratch proof, which means you just install those onto your goggles. This was just an alternative lens, and you can then wipe your goggles and not get them scratched. So scratch proof lens covers are a massive saver. The cost of one of these is dramatically cheaper than the cost of buying new lenses all the time, and it means that when you're riding, you worry-free just wipe that mud away. Okay, so next one is your bottom. Don't know if you can see my bum over the counter. I'll kind of jump for it. Now, I have done some pretty hefty endurance races. If we take the race that I most recently did on Big Buddy, it was 6,000 kilometers over 13 days. Previous race was 8-day racing. That is a lot of time in the saddle, and there's a few things that you can do that dramatically help reduce the likelihood of monkey butt and sores, rashes, and really embarrassing bums where you definitely couldn't be a stripper by the end of the race or the end of the holiday. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go through the full list of those things. I have a dedicated video that you can watch on bum protection, and it's been really, really popular on this channel because for some reason we don't seem to want to talk about these things because it's graphic and it's personal. No, we need to talk about these things because it makes our life way more comfortable on a motorcycle. So check out the other video. It includes things like particular creams that are really helpful, considering the sort of materials that you're putting on your skin, the consideration of different layers and how they interact with each other, things that you can do to your actual motorcycle, such as the seat. So check that one out, but bum protection is a definite learning point, and that video is rammed full of some gem bits of advice for you. Garage tools. Okay, so we can see I've got lots of tools around me here. I'm a massive fan of getting your hands dirty and learning to do mechanics on your bike. Two tools that I particularly wish I had discovered maybe a little bit of earlier on in my mechanics journey, because they would have saved me a lot of time and some money. So the first one is a bearing puller. So if you're changing your wheel bearings, which are here on your motorcycle, which is quite a common thing to have to replace on an enduro bike, for example, getting those bearings out can be a little bit of a pain. But with a tool like this, which you can get on Amazon incredibly cheaply, this is a bearing puller. It comes with the base that pops into the bearing puller, that then screws on. So it comes with this bit that goes, I'm a mess. Right, come on, Vanessa, we can focus. So, I'm not even going to edit that out. That was just me being me. You can see I'm very heavily pregnant. I'm about 18 days off my due date, and baby brain is a real thing. Anyway, so this goes into the middle of the bearing. As you screw it in, it opens up, so it enables it to engage with the bearing, and then you are literally going to be holding it, bam, 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 and it pulls the bearing out without any complications. It's just beautiful. Not expensive. This is a non-branded one off Amazon and will save you damaging your wheels, your hubs, your bearings, and save you a lot of time. The other tool that I wish I'd had much sooner is a torque wrench. So we've got a massive one up here. This is really not motorbike size, but you get torque wrenches in all sizes. So here is a slightly small one. This goes from 20 to 110 Newton meters. I've got a full video on torque wrenches, and that includes how you recharge them. A lot of people don't realize that you actually have to maintain your torque wrenches. But the nutshell of why a torque wrench is so important is that if you look at a motorcycle, every single bolt on that bike will have a specification on the amount of Newton meter force that you should tighten it to. If you over tighten it or under tighten it, it has implications both on safety, its likelihood to rattle undo, but also potentially on your budget. Because if you over torque, for example, a engine casing bolt, it's very easy to crack the engine casing. Fortunately, learnt that the hard way. Then I discovered these. So torque wrench is one of those tools. I am going to have another video on my channel about my top 10 garage tools as well. So stay tuned for that, or search for it because it could be out already. I have proper baby brain. Good news is that baby brain will hopefully go. It might get worse. You never really know, do you? I want to take a quick moment to thank BikeSure for supporting me. Now, for me, being able to create these videos and bring content to you on a weekly basis, it takes a lot of time, resource, and energy, and I really appreciate BikeSure supporting me with this video. BikeSure are an insurance broker, and they do coverage for a whole range of motorcycles. Now, the best thing to do is to pick up the phone and give them a call and talk to them. They do coverage for really bespoke, unique, unusual motorcycles, all the way through to much more standard policies. Best thing to do is give them a call and they will give you the best price option they can. And I definitely recommend them as an insurance company. And thank you to Bikeshaw for supporting me with this video. It's super appreciated. There is a link in the captions below so that you can go straight to their website as well. Okay, so let's go back to the list. What should we talk about next? Balance. So, balance on a motorcycle is probably one of the most fundamentally important things. If we think about a motorbike, they are useless. They don't even stand up on their own. So anything that you can do to improve your balance off the bike and on the bike is going to help all of your riding. Now, there's lots of simple things that you can do at home. A really, really easy one is starting to clean your teeth standing on one foot. If that's too easy, stand on one foot, clean your teeth and close your eyes, and then it gets even harder. Things like there's like prap push-up bars that do all of your core stability, doing lots of squats, push-ups, anything that helps you support your core, playing on slack lines. When you've actually got your motorcycle, practice doing static stands on them where you balance stationary. Every time you go for a ride, dedicate a couple of minutes to doing really slow riding. There is nothing more ridiculous looking than duck walking, which is where people immediately go into panic mode and go like this with their feet anytime they're going slowly. You don't need to. Work on your clutch control, your balance, and feel confident on that motorcycle. It will do wonders for your skill and your confidence. So balance and a focused, dedicated practice time on that is massively something I wish I'd realised much earlier on. After one of my hip surgeries, I ended up going out to the garage and playing on my trials bike. I wasn't able to go out and ride because I was still recovering from this surgery. But I was in a position where I was doing lots of physio and rehab, and being in that kind of position on a trials bike was really good for my hip strengthening. So I literally just stood on my trials bike in the garage practicing, and I got to a point where my personal best was 15 minutes, engine off, balancing, and that balance has massively helped me. Some of the situations I've ended up in on this bike, on my hard enduro bike in Red Bull Romaniacs, where you're in a rock garden, having that balance to not have to try and reach the ground is so good for your confidence. Cotton. Right, you might have heard it from me before, but cotton should be banned on a motorcycle. It is the worst material, and the amount of people that I see wearing £1,000 technical jackets and then they put a cotton t-shirt underneath. You might as well not bother spending your money on a decent jacket if you're going to put cotton underneath it. Cotton holds moisture, it's damp, it doesn't sweat wick, and so it's going to make you hot and cold at both ends of the spectrum. Get rid of the cotton and get yourself some decent technical base layers and you will be so much more comfortable on the motorcycle. Quick and easy, ban cotton. Ears. Ears, ears, ears. Now, riding a motorcycle, you've got the engine noise. That's not what I'm talking about. There is crazy wind fatigue on a motorcycle. Doesn't matter what sort of helmet you're wearing. Yes, the more expensive full face helmets are going to have less wind noise, but you are going to get ear fatigue on a motorcycle. The statistics are terrifying. It's something like 5 minutes at 50 miles an hour is enough to do permanent damage to your hearing. That is going to suck when you get old because you're not going to be able to hear anything. So get yourself some custom molded earplugs. You can, of course, use the little disposable ones. The problem with those, if you're on a longer ride, they massively cause fatigue, but they also block everything out, which means it's really hard to use intercoms. You can't chat in the same way. They don't seem to stay in your ears as well when you put them in because they stick out. Whereas a custom molded one has a filter in it, which means it gets rid of all the bad noise, but you can still have conversations, etc., and it has no fatigue. Worth the money. Think about your long-term hearing, and that is massively a brilliant option to have. I have got another video on my channel about some top ideas for presents for motorcycle lovers, including a dedicated one for females, and these are on there, but you can check out that video for some other present ideas as well. But look after your hearing. Okay, knees. I think we're going into a safety section on this video. The amount of people I've met through the last few years who have done their knees on a motorcycle, it's so easy to accidentally dab, put your foot down, a rock, something, tweak your knees, and your knees get pulled in all kinds of directions. And we obviously know that our knees are really only designed to go one way. I originally, when I started riding, used a articulated knee pad. So this gave me pretty good protection for a bang or a hit, but absolutely no protection for sideways or backwards. And so, hearing from other people, I opted to get myself some proper size knee frames. And there they are. I would highly recommend getting yourself some decent knee frames. Doesn't matter what brand, you need to find the one that is comfortable for your knees. Some of the brands I don't find comfortable. So you've got to try them on and work out which ones are best. But preventative protection on your body is just the best option. The cost of a decent set of knee frames could be anywhere from £350 to £600. But how much would it cost you to not be able to work for 2 or 3 months because you're laid up after ripping your knee sideways? Preventative investment can actually save you a lot of money in the long run. That links to the next one, which is the airbag. Now, when I first started desert racing, which was about 3 years ago, not every single desert race had a compulsory requirement for the airbag, but it has quickly become a compulsory piece of kit. So I wear the Alpine Stars off-road airbag. This is actually straight off the Africa Eco race, so it's filthy. I think I need to get this serviced. This gives you a absolutely colossal amount of protection. I think it's something like a 90% reduction of the impact of an accident when you're wearing this versus not wearing it. It fully deploys. I will give you a link to my full video that talks through this kit. It is expensive. It's going to set you back a bit of money, but my goodness, again, it's preventative investment in money. And I've had 7 deploys of this in desert races now. It's compulsory. You cannot even get onto the start line of one of these desert races without this kit because they know how life-saving it is. And I would, hands on my heart, say that in all 7 of those offs, if I hadn't had this on, I'd probably have been out of the race and highly likely needing surgery. In the Africa Eco race, I actually had an off 13 kilometers from the end of the 6,000 kilometer race, and I did my ACJ on this side, ripped it in a grade 2. And the doctor said to me, wow, I think you should probably wear some protection because this is a pretty hefty tear. And I was like, I was wearing a full airbag system that deployed, showed him the video, and he was like, wow, I don't even want to know what state you would have been in if you hadn't had that kit on because, wow. So, airbags. You can check out my full video on my channel with the full view of the Tech Air Off-Road. This is an incredible piece of kit, but there are lots of different airbags on the market. Alpine Stars themselves do different airbags for different levels of protection. This is a pretty hefty high-end one because it is designed for the likes of racing to Dakar. They do road versions, track versions, all that kind of stuff. But there are also brands that do some that are on a cord deployment. That video will go through a lot of the rationale that you should think about in your decision making, because having a cord that deploys an airbag makes absolutely no sense at all, and I think they should be banned from the market. But anyway, I'll let you watch the other video to get more into that if you are interested. Okay, we then got phone mounts. Now, you probably gather I have a phone pretty much on me the whole time. Most of the filming that I do to share with you is on my iPhone, so it's always quickly deployable. But I have lost 2 phones now to phone mounts on the handlebar. Now, I'm not going to mention any brand names or anything like that because I basically have a flatline rule. It doesn't matter what brand the phone mount is. I will not trust a phone mount with my phone on the handlebars when I'm riding. It's always going to be in a bag, in a pocket. On the road, on some smoother stretches, maybe I would put my phone on, but for off-road, absolutely not. One, the stability and the vibration to the cameras, it can completely destroy them. Yes, you could use an old backup phone just for your sat nav. I tend to just make sure I've always got my Cardo intercom or some other kind of navigation device on the handlebars. I wish I had known that phone mounts are not reliable off-road quite a few years ago, because it would probably have saved me about £3,000 in iPhones. So I'm just going to put that out there. Make your own decisions, but I don't trust phone mounts with phones. Okay, we then have jeans. Now, Kevlar jeans are a pretty incredible advancement in technology that have been around a good few years now, and it enables us to wear casual looking clothes and have protection on a motorcycle. What I didn't realise though is that Kevlar jeans, or the equivalent of this kind of abrasion jeans, are not all equal. There are a lot of brands that will have a lower price tag, and they will have the protection in the high impact areas. So that basically means you're riding along and you're going, I'm coming off my motorcycle. You've then got to somehow, in the middle of the air as you're flying off your bike, go, quick, let's make sure that only my high impact areas touch the ground, because that's the only bit that I could afford the jeans to have protection in. Make sure if you're gonna wear this kind of clothing, you get a pair that is full protection, because I guarantee you when you're falling off, you're not going to be able to go, oh, only make sure that the front bit of my knee and the little bit of the side of my hip hits the ground. Go for full protection. Again, it's preventative protection, and the money that you invest in it, just buy the kit for the slide and not the ride. Yes, we want to look cool and feel good on a motorcycle, but you're going to look a lot cooler with your skin on if you have a slide. Okay, the final one on the list is about being a beginner on a motorcycle, and that is the reality that you've got to be okay with the fact that you're going to drop your bike, you're going to fall off, you're probably going to have a couple of tears, terrifying moments, and feel like an absolute Bambi beginner, particularly if you go into the off-road scene. And that is absolutely okay. Every single rider out there was a beginner once. And so if you are out there bambying around and feeling really wobbly and feeling like stressed and putting loads of high pressure on yourself that you're not good enough, guarantee the good riders around you aren't sat there laughing thinking you're an idiot. They're sat there probably remembering, I remember what that felt like. And they're probably going to have a whole load of tips for you, good energy, and be able to help support you on your journey to building more confidence. Don't give up. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and just be out there because you enjoy riding motorcycles, and focus on enjoying it and having fun, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. It is totally okay to be a beginner. It's totally okay to be the slowest person out there, and we all have to learn somewhere. So don't be too hard on yourself. That is a wrap on my 15 things that I wish I had known earlier in my riding career. Let me know what you think of the list in the comments, and if you think there are any that I have missed that I should add, and we can all have a read of the comments and get a little bit more knowledge. There is a whole realm of different videos across my channels, from behind the scenes racing some of these extreme events through to adventure touring, and also more of the garage-based tips and advice like this one. So please check them out. I'm Vanessa Ruck, the girl on a bike. Thanks so much for watching.